Welcome back, dear viewers, to the RPG Imaginarium, where here we seek to catalog the best traditional gaming stories the internet has to offer. Tonight we bring you a story from another anonymous 4chan user called, "If You Cannot Learn, Then You Will Teach." As always, the original story is provided below. This takes place in 4E, obviously. A special note, I know not all 3.5 players are like this. This merely amused me, so I thought I'd share. So, I got a new player to my 4E game recently, and I thought I'd share the story that unfolded. Let's call this new guy Spike. Spike hated 4E. He claimed constantly that it ruined the flavor of many classes, namely the Paladins, since they cannot lose their powers and fall in the traditional sense. Spike decided, well, if he must play 4E, since the rest of the group was, then fine, he'd play it his way. He creates a Paladin of Cord, recalling how he always wanted to do so. Time passes and little of note occurs. They slay a dragon and rescue a princess, everything seems normal, until one night when the princess makes an off remark about the Paladin. Spike's Paladin then immediately claimed Middle Watch. Then, in the dead of night, he passes me a note. He drags away the princess in the middle of the night, beats her within an inch of her life, then does the unspeakable. Because, he cannot fall. So, I ask him if he's certain, and when he responds in the positive, I simply nod, tell him he feels the gaze of Cord upon him. They return to the town as heroes, and receive their reward funds. Spike smiles, turning to leave to find two paladins, also of Cord, standing in the way. They request a private audience. The paladins sent by Cord relay that he has done a terrible deed, a black mark on his record which cannot ever be forgiven. If he repents, they state, they will be kind and spare his life. Spike manages to talk them around into letting him remain a paladin, and offhand, asks where are they going to be staying tonight. He will pay for their room and board, and out of his own pocket, so it's the least he can do, right? Later that night, Spike murders the two paladins, one at a time in their beds, taking the little money they had, pawning their armor through the rogue, who was on a line to leaning towards evil, and stowing their blades in his bags as trophies. Again, he was told that Cord's gaze was upon him. More time passed, and Spike was feeling pretty good about himself. He'd managed to buy some pretty good gear with all the money he got from his murder theft, and was happily chatting it up with the rogue, when the party sees 3 paladins, a cleric, and 5 angels roll over the hill at them. Cord was getting mad. There were no words of kindness, only an agreement to capture him alive for hanging later. A death in battle did not suit this betrayer. Spike managed to get the group on his side, and after a harrowing near loss, they defeated the paladins and clerics. The group was now leery of Spike's paladin, but he had saved them many a time, so their loyalty remained with him. For the 3rd time, Cord's gaze fell upon Spike's paladin. He'd run out of strikes. Cord sent an avatar of himself, challenging Spike's paladin to single, non-lethal combat, for the same reason that the warband had decided to leave him be. 3 rounds after Spike's paladin agreed, he was paced. Living, breathing, but barely there. The avatar stated that the clerics and paladins would be there to pick him up shortly for his hanging, but Spike did the stupidest thing since he turned on that princess. He ran as soon as he could. It wasn't easy, sure, but on a broken leg and a shattered ribcage, he got a few good miles. Cord hated all the things that Spike had done, but this really was the last straw. He was being a coward. There was a strike of lightning and a dummy stood in the earth where Spike's paladin once stood, face frozen in fear. It was similar to the training dummies they used in many of Cord's places of worship, save for an inscription on the pole. If you cannot learn, then you will teach.